Hi, I wanted to make a little video for you just to show you how I was using my XYZ Davinci printer. The best place to start is the Ultimaker Cura. You can download that from Google, Ultimaker Cura, and download that. There's for Windows, a Mac, and whatever. So we're not actually going to be using this for printing. We'll be using this for slicing. But once you get the Ultimaker Cura set up, I have a little model here of the snake. So it allows you to do some editing on it and so on. But the most important thing we need to do with Ultimaker is to figure out the settings. So what I did is I actually added a printer here with a profile for the printer. This is the Mini Maker, the Davinci Mini Maker that you have, XYZ Printing, the Davinci Mini Maker. So you need to add it so that it has all of the settings. So we'll go through that in a second. But basically you can add a new printer here from scratch, like a non-network printer, and then you could find XYZ Davinci, one of these. Just pick one of these up and you'll have to change its settings. What you'll have to do in here is to set the printer settings to 150 on the X, 150 on the Y, and 150 on the Z. Printer settings, a rectangular build plate, and then the G code would be Marlin. This additional G code that I'll give to you is something that you need to add here at the start G code and also the end G code. And then the print head settings, again, there's a few settings in here: Xmin -28, Ymin -40, Xmax 42, Ymax 33, and gantry height of 4 millimeters, one extruder. And for your extruder, you need to set the compatible material diameter to 175 millimeters and then 0 for the rest and nothing else in here. But this G code, I'll give that to you so you can just paste it in. Once you have the Davinci printer set up in here, I created a profile for my Davinci Mini Maker where I added a few things. For example, the quality, the layer height, 0.2 millimeters, that's the max or the best that this printer can do. The initial layer height, I put it at 0.35, in line with it. Most of the things are 0.4, and so on. That's basically almost all that I did with quality. I didn't really change much of the other stuff. 0.8 on the wall thickness, and the rest of the stuff is up to you with what kind of infills you want to use and so on. As far as using just a standard PLA that you would get, the 1.75 PLA, I did set it at 185 for the printing temp, at 215 for the initial layer. The printing temp is like 185. I think that's something that works. The speeds now, the print speed at 30 millimeters per second, and the infill, the outer wall, the inner wall at 60. Top and bottom speed are set to 20, and travel speed at 45, initial layer at 15. I found that these kind of settings make it easier for the printer to travel and make the print go without too much errors in printing. There's nothing much else in here that's special. You can just keep it like that. I think the most important thing is to make the layer height 0.2 and the initial layer height at the 0.35. I think the rest of the stuff is kind of default, and you can just play around with that. Once we have it in the Ultimaker Cura, we're just going to have it and slice it. Now this is not going to actually do the printing, it's just going to slice it based on the parameters that we set for the printer and the thing. If you go in preview, you can actually see the layers that it's going to, the work that it's actually going to do, and that's pretty much it. After that, I would just save this to a file. I would just save this as a G code in my downloads. I'm just going to save that as the G code. And that's pretty much it. We're done with Ultimaker Cura. But if this would allow you basically to set up your model, to scale it up or down, locate it on the build plate, move it around the build plate, to do different things. You can add several models to the same print, and everything is done in Ultimaker Cura. The only thing is that once you set up your printer, you slice and then you get the G code. Now, getting the G code over to the printer, that's a different thing. You need to connect the printer via USB to your computer and then run a different software. So the software I was using is called the MiniMoverUI. Now, it's ancient, right? It's about 8 years ago, roughly, but it's the only thing that I found works with this particular printer. So it's just a software to send the G code to the XYZ Davinci. So you can download it from here, from GitHub. I'll put the link over. I got the MiniMoverUI, and that's pretty much it. There's nothing to pay or anything. You just do this. Now, the Mini Mover controls all aspects of the printer. Once you connect it, it controls all aspects of the printer. So let's say I have it in here. I'm gonna just run the Mini Mover. Just double click that. So it is pretty old software, but it does actually work. So I actually don't have the printer connected on my computer anymore, but you should be able to find your Davinci Mini Maker in here and also find the COM port where your printer is connected and click that. And once you click that, you'll get something much more similar to what you find in here. So it will be the Davinci model, and it will tell you what's the temperature on your extruder and all that sort of stuff. But then you can start going, go ahead and jog it, move it up or down, and you can just click these and it will send those to the printer, and the printer should respond. One thing about that printer is that it has this little light there. There's a button with the light, and the light would be flickering, so you can click that light and the printer would beep or something, and then it would go back to listening mode. So if that happens, just click that button. Make sure you do that. Obviously, computer needs to be connected and connect to power and then the USB. So you can jog that around if you need to and so on. It will help you to unload and load filament as well. That will just jog those motors for unloading, so rotate in or rotate out that filament through the thing. So you can just click load filament and that will start rotating that motor, and you can start feeding in that filament into a nozzle on the back of the printer. There's a little motor there that pulls the filament up through that line that goes above the printer and into the print head. So you can run through that in here as well. Calibrate the bed as well if you need to. You would do that basically with auto leveling. But once the printer kind of responds to you and you're effectively ready to print, you would just go and click print file and load up that G-code file that we just made with the Cura. And now obviously the printer is not connected here, so it's not going to do much, but you'll see the upload file kind of finish, and then the printer is going to go into this where Mini Mover will show you that thing being, the printer will start making the thing, and you should definitely expect the printer to not be very successful. Your first couple of prints, you'll have to figure out a few different settings. So I've canceled this one, but for you, basically it should be running through and get the printer up and going. The printer should be responsive and start working and start basically printing this. So that's about it here in Cura. One thing you may want to consider doing, which is something that I usually do, is before actually starting to print the model, you could ask Cura to add a line of filament on the border of the plate, either here or here. It just adds a line, and that kind of helps with just sending some filament through the head just to reset it before it actually goes and prints stuff. So there's an option here to do it. You'll have to figure this out with Cura, but that would print a little preview thing, just a line of filament around the thing, and that helps a lot. The other thing that I found very useful is on the build plate for the printer, I tape blue painter's tape. So I taped it all over the printer, and that helped with adhesion. One thing that would help with adhesion, especially if you have a model that has very little footprint on the thing, it builds off from there, is to actually use school glue, like a glue stick or something like that. You get a glue stick to spread a little bit of it in that where that model basically starts from. And that's it. Just let the printer print right on top of that glue, and that will make the model stick to the build plate very well. It's not a heated build plate, but there's many cases where there's very bad adhesion and the printer would just knock off the model off of the build plate. So adding that blue painter's tape and a little bit of that school glue stick just works wonders in terms of adhesion. Try those as well. All right, good luck with the printer. I hope you're successful, and I'm very happy that this printer is finding a new life. All right.